Welcome everybody, this is Legion Incorporated. I'm back again. Today we're going to be continuing the Tritus Tyrossi campaign for Mountain Blade Bannerlord. We went through all of the tutorials on our last playthrough, our last video. And so now we'll be continuing off of that one today. So in our last video, we basically just got cut loose and started the game. I did a little bit of play immediately after and got a couple of additional troops, trained up some people, but I didn't go anywhere with the main campaign or storyline at that stage. So I'm going to show you real quick what we have. Our party is still Tritus, but we have some veteran infantrymen, we have some Imperial trained infantrymen, a good chunk of Imperial infantrymen, Imperial recruits, Imperial sergeant crossbowmen, Imperial crossbowmen, trained archers, Imperial archers, a large amount. And then we have some Imperial Vigla recruits. These will eventually turn into some of our cavalry. In fact, we will be getting our first one when I upgrade him now. I like to keep my people separated and sorted out in the party mode. Generally liking to keep my horses on the top. I include the Imperial Vigla recruit because they turn into horsemen. Then underneath that I have my infantry. Underneath that I have my ranged units. You have a large selection of units to choose in this game. I choose personally to use either the Empires or the Vladian troops. And I will show you a little bit of that here. You have your Vladian troops, crossbowmen, guards, footmen, crossbowmen again, heavy. You have a large selection here that spreads the entire plethora of opinions that you can choose. And you have your Sturgians, your Khajiit, Empire, Britannias, Assarai, Vakan, Steppe Bandits, Raiders, Nord, Mountain Bandits, Looters, Forest Bandits, Desert Bandits, Darshi. You have most, if not all of them, somewhere in the game. The other important part for you to note here is looking either at your clans to see who's available across the map, and for example, let's say you want this one here, you want to find the leader. Well, just through those trees, going to click on the leader and then click on where he's located, you find that this guy's located at Kukwa, all the way down here. So if I was looking for him, through the N button, I can find where exactly he is through the kingdoms. Let's see, that would have been Assarai. And then you can figure out which other choices there are. Personally, I can't remember which one he was in, so you could just find any of them and find exactly where they're located at that point, tracking them through that list. It'll stay highlighted until you get to the area. I recommend checking it before you get there because you're going to be traveling for a good amount of time. And people are pretty quick in this game, so they can get way ahead of you if you don't actually keep a track of that. You can sort of get an idea of what kind of directions they're going based on that. But also in this Kingdoms menu that I'm looking at here, You can also see where they are having wars. For example, let's say you're in the Southern Empire and you want to avoid certain things, or you want to get involved in certain things. You can see that the Southern Empire is at war with the Aserai, as well as 3 of the mercenary bands. Or you can go and see that Valandia is at war with Sturgia, the blue, on the top, and one of the mercenary bands. Me personally, what I've decided to do in this playthrough is, out of the options you have, you can either stay solo, you can go and be a mercenary, or you can choose to be a vassal, a loyal subject of one of these rulers. At level 1, where I'm at, where we are, we can only be a mercenary at this stage. I intend to do nothing but be a mercenary for Valandia to build a reputation there. Possibly switch over to vassal and get some troops on my side. I haven't quite decided. I do want to try the marriage aspect in this game at some point, and might be a good way to do that is to go mercenary, go vassal, find somebody, get married, and then at some point after that defect, because my intention in this game is to eventually create my own empire. I like to do my own thing and conquer the lands under the decisions I'm making. I just have more fun that way, and I find it quite interesting. So on this time, right now, just hunting down some bandits on the general direction over to Landia to become a mercenary for them. Oh, these gentlemen are wanting to join my troops, but again, if you remember me saying, I only use the Valadian or the Imperial troops. So I would take prisoners and sell them to the taverns, or let them go even, potentially. But I don't have any intention of bringing this kind of force into my own army. So I'm going to have them fight us. Mind you, it's not going to be a fight basically at all. My troops are starting to see some good amount of experience, so it's hard to say fight. In this one, I am just going to send my infantry out and let my archers take their shots and just see what my infantry do, to see if I can get a little bit of extra experience. Quickly took care of everybody there. We killed 5 and wounded 2. Let's see, so based on numbers, we have 12, 17, 19 archers, so I'm going to drop another person from my recruits into archers. And that pretty much sums up my archer force at this stage of the game. I really want to, A, turn all of my archers into crossbowmen. That's the first thing I'm doing here. Next, I want to make sure I have a good chunk, but a smaller chunk than the infantry, and the cavalry will be a smaller chunk even than the archers, because basically you want your cavalry to be that impact and harassment. You don't want it to be all cavalry, because there can be some issues there, but with a large chunk of cavalry that's just slightly smaller than your archers, which are just slightly smaller than your infantry, you get a really good shock to the front lines, and the archers get harassed. And after your cavalry breaks their lines, your infantry comes in and does a lot of damage while your archers are raining arrows on top of the enemy throughout the rest of the combat. Basically right now in this, I'm just going to be looting everybody, because we'll need the food that they have. In this one we got some butter. That's going to be the only food that we got, but we got a good amount of gear to sell. We're trying to make a little bit of money so that we can afford to stabilize, or not stabilize, but support our troops. As you see there, the daily gold change, we just paid our troops today, and we have a good amount of money, but it's not going to last forever. So the two things we're doing is collecting loot from combat as we go, and we're going to be capturing prisoners and taking their coin and their loot to begin with. See, in this trip going this direction, I've already paid twice. And considering they're all the way over here, we're probably going to pay a couple more times, at least. Maybe, I would say, 2 additional times before we arrive. And that's if we don't get involved in any other conflicts or get sidetracked. Like right here, this blue indicator is a party. We're not at war with either one of these people, so we're just going to have to sit here and let this play out real quick. Okay, so the people that we were hoping to win won, and they have a quest marker here that I'm trying to get involved with. So I come up, talk to the army, introduce yourself, and he tells you he's one of the ancient lineages of the Botanians, Lord of the Car-Banseth, and we are going to be asking him about the Battle of Pendrake, which is also Nezetzi's Folly. He's going to tell you his version of it, how it went down. I'm leaving it on the screen long enough for you guys to pause real quick. I'm not going to read through all of them for you. Explains his perspective. And so now he's given us what we need. We're going to let him go about his business while we continue to make our way over to the Valandian area. We're also going to take a quick pause to show you the Neretzi's Folly information. You're going to be rebuilding your clan at this stage, most likely. And right now the only thing I have left to do here is hire a companion. And then the other part is you're going to be investigating additional nobles, just like the gentleman I talked to just now, until you get a full 10 talked to, and that's going to spread most of the countries that are out there. You can either do that real quick, or you can work on building some relationships in the beginning. So in this playthrough, that's actually what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be working on a mercenary, fighting some battles for the lords that are in the area, and fighting the wars, getting influence, and building my credibility as a mercenary at that stage. Eventually, once I get my clan level up and get more people and soldiers, and starting to make a little bit better money through the raiding and everything else, at that stage, then I'm going to go and become a vassal. Once I become that vassal, I'm going to try to get some land, some castles, and once I get a good amount of land on my own, I'm going to leave the kingdom. I don't know what's going to happen at that stage because I haven't done it that way before. So this will be a lesson for both of us. I see it going one of two ways. Number one, we're going to do that. They're going to hate us. We're going to be at war. I'm going to have the land that I've been given and fighting the Valandians at that stage. Or the second way this could go is when I break off, I lose all my land and it stays Valandian, and then that means I'm back to square one, and other than possibly the marriage, I won't have anything really gained from this whole scenario. Right now we have a group of 26 looters that are going to fight our 48 relatively hardened soldiers. You can also send troops, but that has a higher risk of losing people as far as death. or wounded or both. So I tend to do the attack because even simple tactics are better than random tactics. In this one, I'm going to move my infantry just off to the side to let my archers have a little bit better of a view of the enemy. I'm also going to set up my archers to have a wider formation. This should allow them to get a better spread of arrows on the enemy. As soon as I see my first death, I will have my infantry charge, followed by the cavalry to lead up the attack. Killing some of the stragglers at that point. Looks like there's a couple more retreating over here. Alright. So we officially took out all the enemies. And the results are 21 are dead with 5 wounded. Okay, so we got our second horseman. You have 2 choices here, but I generally don't go to the Veneville-Leoton route. I just don't like those units as much as I do the Legionnaires, which are the next stage after the Imperial Infantrymen. Training up a couple more of the trained infantry. And now at this stage, since I have all the archers I'm looking for now, just turn those gentlemen into infantry. Archers into crossbowmen at any opportunity. And then our standard archers up to Imperial trained. And so if you look at our infantry, our archers, and our horsemen, you'll see that the higher levels are more or less outweighing the lower levels at this stage, with the exception of infantry, it looks like. We still are 9 to the 16 that you see here. But the crossbowmen, you have 11 to 8 at this stage. So we're going to pick up these prisoners because every bit of money is going to be helping at this point. We're taking all of the loot, gave us a little bit of food, so we still have a good 13 days in game until the army runs out. But that is a very big penalty that I'm trying to avoid on this playthrough. You get some unhappy people if they're not getting food, and you get some really unhappy people if they're not getting paid. I've actually never let it happen long enough for there to be big consequences, except for morale issues. But I don't want to take a chance with it, so I'm doing my best to avoid that altogether. It looks like I've also gained something over here in the character selection screen. It looks like one-handed. So their choices here for leveling up at this level of one-handed is you can either choose Raider 1 or Shield Bash 1. Raider 1 is 4% increased weapon speed bonus whenever the player has a one-handed weapon wielded. And so we're going to be choosing that one for me personally. The other option is Shield Bash causes 50% additional damage. So increased weapon speed is just simply my preference. Being able to attack the opponent a little bit faster is very helpful in these areas. I also have 1 attribute point and 1 focus. So my attribute I'm going to be putting into social. Social is one of the most attributes at this stage of the game for the way I play and for the way I'm looking to play. So making sure that I have strong charm and leadership is going to be helping me dealing with the nobles that I'm going to have to deal with very soon. The next part I have is the free focus point. There is a point in the game at 225 where everything has a price and you can actually buy settlements. I'm going to see if there's any chance of me working towards that on this one. And so one of the things I'm going to do here is I'm going to be putting the focus point into Steward, because I find that Steward and Trade sort of play a little bit hand in hand. You're going to have food variety as the quartermaster, improving settlement prosperity and building projects as a governor, and spending time in your settlements as the clan leader. Right now we don't have any settlements, so that's not going to be an issue. Again, improving settlement prosperity and building projects as a governor, we're not going to be doing that, so that's not going to be an issue. But we can do our best to give food variety to our soldiers, which will begin increasing this statistic. So now that we are pretty close by, let's go down here and take out one more group of bandits before we go that much further. These guys always like to run, and they just take you so far sometimes if you're not careful. So we're going to be attacking them here. On this one, I'm going to have my infantry charge, as well as my horsemen, because that's who I'm really trying to gain experience for. But as you can see, the archers are still shooting, so you're still getting some arrow fire. I do my best not to let anybody escape. And it looks like on this one, our cavalry managed to make sure we didn't have any stragglers get away. So we killed 11 and only had 1 wounded, so 1 prisoner this time round. But our horsemen, one of those gentlemen, got up to our next level, so now we have a heavy horseman. And so he's going to be actually one of our strongest characters, in my opinion, at this stage of the game. An archer as well. So pick up their loot. And now we're going to hit that N button and see if we can find out where the leader is. So he's over by Kellogg. So we're going to see if we can find him. Again, I will detour for fighting some bandits if I see them close enough. That one I'll leave alone just because they're a small enough party. I'm probably not going to get enough loot on it. But now I can really start looking for the leader. We're going to be looking for the lion symbol. That's the leader's clan, I believe. And again, if you have any questions, you can just pull this back up. But as you can see here, that lion on the spear is the owner's faction. So who we need to find is going to be somewhere around here, most likely. A little bit sidetracked, obviously, but we got these looters sort of cornered. Again, same tactic. I'm going to be having my infantry charge as well as my cavalry. Now this time it looks like the enemy didn't even try to run. So they fought down to the last man with 10 wounded, 10 dead and 3 wounded. So finishing leveling our units up. Always recommend to level your units anytime you can, as long as you intend to keep the units for a long time. Don't waste the money if you are not going to be keeping the units. You want to pick up all of the loot. And then we're going to check on the location of the owner again. It still says he was seen somewhere around here, so maybe we'll get lucky. Although if you did notice, it did say within 7 days, so take it with a grain of salt. The one, oh, we just found, oh, this is Calatin. Well, this will be, this will improve the, what's the word? This will improve the quest line. You will get further in the quest line, but it's not the person we can talk to about joining, unfortunately. So we're going to ask about the, oh, and she seems like she didn't have anything to do with it, so it's her father that's going to know about it, or at least I believe it's her father. She does belong to his clan. So that's I'm going to see if there's any other options. So you could ask to enter the service of the king through her. And it looks like I'd be able to join in through her, so I am actually going to do that now. She says, yes, well, we do hire mercenaries, and some of them, I'll admit, are men of honor. Your reward will be 30 gold for every group of enemies you vanquish, or for an equivalent deed. So, at this stage, I'm going to say that's lower than what I had in mind. Let me think about it. She says, do think about it, but make sure you do not end up on the losing side, which I fully intend to join them, but I'm going to see if maybe the king himself will give a better price. No guarantees, but it's my hope. I haven't tried going from one to another yet, so we'll see what that says. And I have a feeling he actually might be here. No, it doesn't look like it. So let's see if we can find him on a second check. Still says he's somewhere around here. And because we still have to watch out for the money's sake, I am going to take on these looters. And this is actually going to be a quote-unquote battle on this one. The problem is you have untrained rabble versus at least basic training, and it really makes a strong difference, and you'll see that very clearly here. I don't think we'll have any wounded or dead. And I'm going to pull the same tactic as I did before, where I spread the archers out and then pull them back just a tiny bit and wait over here with my cavalry. So now we're just going to be waiting for the enemy to come over the hill, and the archers will begin to fire. Alright, so now we're going to have the full engage, now that the archers have softened them up a bit. And it looks like we succeeded in the rout. So I've never seen that where the enemy's actually running towards the army to get away, but it looks like they had a pathing issue. Made it a little bit easier on us, but I don't think it helped them get away any. So I believe that ends it. Yep. Your best way to tell is look at your cavalry. If they're still running, there's still enemies out. We killed 32 and only captured 2, so they really don't want to be taken alive, these looters. But it did give us an additional legionary, so our first legionary actually at this stage. We have an additional veteran, 2 more trained men, and we have an additional crossbowman. So we're up to 8 crossbowmen to our 11 archers. So most of the time in games like this, I go with archers. I tend to like bows. I'm not sure why exactly, but I've almost always went with the bowman. On this time, I'm giving it a shot with the crossbowman, seeing if it really was a large enough difference to make the switch. Because as you probably can guess, archers have a faster fire rate. You can shoot more arrows, but the crossbows are supposed to be more powerful and more accurate. So we'll see if the difference is enough. Alright, so I'm going to unselect the town of Kaliak and go back down here to Sargo. I need to check to see if A, the leader's here, which I don't think so, but I could be wrong. Looks like he's not. So the other part that I'm going to do is I'm going to go into ransom those prisoners. It's a small amount. But I also want to see, it looks like there's Sorgar the Shark. If you remember, we needed to pick up another companion. So I think this is as good a time as any. But I imagine I'll need a little bit more money. So I'm going to quickly go to trade and see what I can sell to have a little bit more money to work with. And if you remember, I kept a lot of that loot from these enemies, so that will really help with how much money I have to work with now. You know what, I'm going to keep one of those gloves. They're not very strong, but it's still better than nothing, and I might be picking somebody up here. So got a pair of boots, a pair of gloves, a saddle, I have a horse for him, a sword, and a shield. It looks like there weren't really any spears, so I'm not going to worry about that side of it. So we're going to get an additional 1,300. So, going back to the tavern district, the lucky thing with companions is when you do buy them, you only have to buy them one time. So, Sorgar. My name is Tritus, sir. Tell me about yourself, or I'm Tritus. Let's skip the pleasantries and get right to business. Well, let's see what he has to say about himself. He says, you ask a lot of questions, friend, so I'll tell you what you need to know and no more. You don't look like somebody who's been around a bit, so I probably don't have to tell you about how this faithless world of ours works. Sometimes it needs a man who's not afraid to get his hands dirty to make sure there's a bit of order. The lords and the merchants, they sit in their lofty towers making grand decisions, but they don't see into the back alleys to know what plots are going on. They don't know where to find the debtor who won't pay his debt. They don't know where to find the wagging tongues starting rumors. So that's where I come in. Anyway, that's all I say about my line of work. Unless, of course, you care to make a down payment on my services. Then we can talk more. And I say, oh yes, you do sound like the useful type. The way I look at it, we all fulfill the will of the heavens in our own ways. So I do what I'm good at. Right now I'm between jobs, so if you got any work for me, I'm willing to discuss it. I'm saying I could use someone like you in my company. Very well. I'm going to need about 2,314 to settle up some debts, though. Can you pay? Again, from what I can see, when you buy your companions, that's the end of the story. You don't have to pay any more. They're just part of your clan at that point. So we are picking him up. So Sorgar the Shark joined your party. Very well, I'll get my gear and join you outside. So we use the tab button to leave the tavern. We're going to go through load screen back out to the main menu, or main screen. And at this point, we're pretty low, but we still have enough to outfit our new member. So we come over here, you can see that he doesn't really have anything special. It's a little bit longer of a sword that he has with a bit faster thrust speed. But otherwise, the short sword is going to be an improvement. Next, the oval shield is better than no shield, so we give him that. We don't have any shirts or helmets to give him, so we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But it looks like he actually brought better gloves to the party. And he brought the same kind of boots. So we really just have to give him the weapon, the horse, and the saddle. So now he is an additional cavalryman, and as battles start to progress, we'll be equipping him when and wherever we can. I am going to go back to trade, and we didn't need to use the boots. We obviously don't need to reuse the sword that he came in that we didn't need in the first place. So we're selling all that to get a little bit more leeway. We're actually about where we were before all of this. So we are now going to try again to find where he is today. It looks like he's up at Cargriff. So he has gone a long way, so I think there was probably a glitch going on. But we're going to see if we can catch up to and find this king of ours. And we see another party to fight. We're going to take them on real quick. It's another 14. And we're just going to attack them. With a lower amount like this and my men gaining some good experience, I'm just going to start the charge already, just straight off the bat. And you can see our new guy leading the charge into the enemy. Oh man, I could not take a good... Neither one of those guys took good last few moments. One got a javelin through the shoulder and the other one got one to the face. Not how I'd like to go out. 11 dead and 3 wounded. And because I technically set them up like cavalry, I bring them up to the top so we have all of our cavalry in one spot, including myself again because I also have a horse. So we bring our loot, and it looks like we actually picked up something we can use now. See, this gambeson is actually going to be stronger than what he's wearing, so a small upgrade there. And we have the headcloth. So again, very simple distinction, but something is again better than nothing. So we got him at least an increase there. So now we're going to continue our way up to Cargriff. Next time I hear the ching of the currency, I will be double checking to make sure that the king is still up there. Because again, they move so frequently. We found some more looters on our way, so it's a good time to grab them. We're going to have our infantry just go straight at it, and then our cavalry will get started as well. we managed to win the battle. At this point, the remaining enemy is fleeing. And we managed to take him out on his escape. It looks like there might actually be another one. If you remember what I told you before, always check on the cavalry. And it looks like he's probably gotten far enough away, he's going to escape the battlefield. Yep. He managed to get away in the end. So we have the last one of our Viglas turning into another cavalry. 2 more trained infantrymen and 1 more veteran. We're grabbing those prisoners and the loot, including a little bit of food. Going to stretch this out just a little bit longer. Caught another group really quick. We're going to demand them to surrender. They refuse, and we're going to attack them again. This time I'm going to let my archers get a little bit of experience. So I'm going to move my infantry a little bit. I'm going to set my archers up here on this cliff and bring my horsemen back to me. One enemy remaining. And my archers took him out. Oh wow, it looks like there's still one more somewhere. He's somewhere over this direction. Likely he'll be too far out and we'll actually be able to escape. See if we can find him. Oh, he managed to make it away. Pick up the 4 prisoners we have, an additional veteran, an additional crossbowman, and an additional trained archer. So now we're down to 10 of the archers with 9 crossbowmen. A good amount of food this time, giving us another 2 days worth of survivability out here. Since we've gone a little ways, we're going to give it a look to see if we can find Derthert, see where he ended up running off to. It says he's still up near Hargrave though, so we'll continue up that direction. We don't have much in the way of stuff to trade or anything like that right now, but I figure keeping up our money is a very important thing at this point while we're going on a mission. So we're going to get rid of some of these things that we don't really need. Leaves us a small amount of things, so we're going to pick up a couple of mules, and we're going to grab another sumpter horse, just giving us a little bit more of that inventory capacity. We have 700 available from pack animals, 980 from troops, with a base of 10. So this should help us a bit more. We're at 7 days, so we spent a little bit more of this money on getting a couple bits of food. Looks like grain's pretty cheap right now, so grab some there. The butter's cheap here, the grapes are cheap here, and the meat's a little bit cheap here. Alright, so we're getting an additional 200. That's about another day's worth of pay for our units. And then we're going to go over to the tavern and sell off those additional slaves. Again, those are slaves that we're not going to use, so no use to keep them any longer than you have to. As far as I know, slaves and how full your inventory in both are going to be affecting your total carry weight and how fast you go. Looks like we're going to try to take these looters real quick. This match we will work on our cavalry and our infantry. Again, our archers will get a couple shots in. I don't mind the enemy getting a little bit weakened up. Won the battle. 8 dead, 2 wounded. So we have another legionary and another Imperial trained infantryman. Gathering the loot. And now we're actually pretty close to Cargrove, where he's supposed to be. We'll take on some additional looters in the process. This is a good 16 of them, so they should have a bit better loot. And we're going to have the infantry charge. A moment later we'll get the cavalry started. And I'm actually going to have the archers running on this one. That means they'll get closer to their fire and just be sort of feeling more part of the battle a little bit earlier. And it looks like our enemy is down. 12 dead and 4 wounded. Okay, everybody. I know we're on our way to finding Derthert to join in with him, but it's looking like it's taking a little bit longer to find him than I expected. So we're going to end this video at this stage, and the search for Derthert will continue on our next video. If you like the video, please hit like and subscribe to our channel, and even hit the notifications bell. I'd be happy for you guys to see whenever we have new videos coming out on the channel, and I will see you again soon.